Hello again. This is once more Dr. Jimmy. And today is Monday, the 16th of January, 2017. Today is the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, a federal holiday, in which we commemorate the civil rights leader who did so much to help this nation overcome all the terrors of prejudice. Of course, we still have a lot more work to do to carry out Dr. King's legacy. Now, this is the same day that I started my History of Halloween Horror Nights 24. I forgot to mention what day it was. I bring the day up in case I don't post this until later in the week, so you know when I did this. Over there, by the door, here's Bob the cat. She's been meowing and she's been meowing and complaining a lot because she wants to go outside, which is very odd because she's not an outside cat. She's an inside cat and she never goes outside. And when she does run outside, I have to bring her back in right away. One time she went outside and fell in the swimming pool when a snake was out on the patio, and she went over to catch it and the snake moved and it scared her and she jumped way up in the air and landed in the water and went swimming, doing the cat paddle. Got all wet. She didn't drown, but I had to spend the rest of the day drying off the cat. She's got that rather thick Japanese bobtail fur. Doesn't look so thick, but it is, and it's a bitch to dry it, which is why it's always really difficult to give her a bath, but I'm going to need to because she gets all messy nowadays when she eats. She has to eat wet food now because of some problems with her mouth and her tongue and her teeth. Due to some recent health complications, and she gets drool all over and it messes herself up. Her fur gets all dirty, and I have to bathe her more frequently now, and she hates it, but nothing you can do. But enough of that. I'm not here to talk about a silly cat. I'm here to talk about Horror Nights. This is Halloween Horror Nights 24, Part 2 in my series on the history of that event. In the previous video, I spent quite a bit of time leading up to the event, talking about leaks, talking about mysterious clues, talking about best laid plans going awry, things they thought about doing but weren't able to get done after all, plans they made that got scrapped, the usual sort of stuff before we get to the event itself. So, let's get to the event itself. Halloween Horror Nights 24 was held at Universal Studios, Florida, once more. In fact, they have since 2006. The event has always been at Universal Studios, Florida, and as far as I know, will continue throughout this year as well. Although, who knows, they might move it for the first time since 2005. You never know. The event began on Friday, September 19th, 2014, the earliest start day ever up to that point. Previously, they'd opened as early as the 20th, the year before, but now they opened on the 19th. That's 2 days before autumn actually even begins. Holy crap! They start in summer, not in the fall. 2 days before the thing. That was kind of silly, but it wouldn't be the earliest ever. After that, it would get even earlier in years to come. But 19 was, wow, another earliest ever start date and another more nights than ever before event, because ultimately there were 28 nights of the event in 2014, and that was more than they had in previous years. So, wow. And what were the nights? Well, the event was held on the evenings of September 19th, 20th, 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th. And then on October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 30th, and 31st, Halloween night. But it didn't end on Halloween, because Halloween was a Friday. They went on to complete the weekend with Saturday, November 1st. So it hit 28 nights from September 19th to November 1st, All Saints' Day. Now, As I said, the promotional material for the event focused on the intellectual properties, and we see that in the event guides. I have 4 different versions of the guides. This one was the midnight closing guide, and it features The Walking Dead. Yes, The Walking Dead. As you see, it shows the figures of burning walkers at Terminus, and down here it says, of course, saying when the program would resume. October 5th of, no, it says season 5 returns this October. So when the event began, 4 seasons of The Walking Dead had aired on AMC. The 5th season would begin while the event was going on. Right. Now, there was a second brochure for 1 a.m. closings. The 1 a.m. closing brochure featured Alien vs. Predator, like so. There weren't as many 1 a.m. closings that year. And then the 2 a.m. closings. There are actually 2 versions of this. I'm not certain why. It featured Halloween. There was this one. These are 2 with different dates, but they both feature a red event guide banner at the top. And the other version, near the end of the event, for 2 a.m. closings, had a white banner on the top. I don't know why the difference. But those were the 3 different designs. We had The Walking Dead, American Horror, not American Horror Story, that was last year. They had The Walking Dead, they had Alien vs. Predator, and Halloween as the brochures, and that's also what was represented primarily on the various billboards. Oh, the television commercial. That was something I was going to bring up before, and let me just confirm in my mind what that was. I believe that was the one with the airport, but let me double check. Let me double check. Yes. The television commercial for Halloween Horror Nights 24 featured a crowded airport, and there were some people there waiting to see their friends come off the plane. This was a bit anachronistic. Where the hell do they have people at the gates waiting to meet their friends anymore? They did that when I was a kid, but certainly not since 9/11. So the planes landed, and coming off the plane are zombies! Ah! And the people were waiting for their friends to come off the plane, meet zombies! Ah! But that's not the way it would work in real life, because, you know, that area is secure now, and you can't go there unless you have a boarding pass. So I don't understand that. But the flight was coming from Atlanta to Orlando. They had a similar commercial in Hollywood. The flight was coming from Atlanta to Hollywood. The idea being Atlanta being where The Walking Dead takes place there. Some of it was in Atlanta, at least. So that was the idea of that. So it was a rather silly commercial, and it also featured at the end of the commercial flashes of Michael Myers and Alien vs. Predator and other things that would be a part of the event. So that was the TV commercial. So let's get on to it then. The part that a lot of you like best, I think, the haunted houses of Halloween Horror Nights 24. So there were 8 haunted houses that year again, and there were 5 intellectual property houses that were based on television programs and motion pictures, and there were 3 original concept houses, I believe. Yes, 3 original concept houses, ideas that art and design came up themselves and created. Some people like the original houses better. But my favorite house that year was an intellectual property house based on a film. So there you go. It isn't always the original. I like the original, but mind you, I liked all the houses very much that year. The first house, though, and we'll go around the park, shall we? In fact, let's take a look at the brochure again, because there's something I usually do. Let's open the brochure. Inside you have survival tips and park safety, because you want to survive. Then you have dining and shopping, which includes pictures of some of the merchandise that year, and oh, something about express passes. Then you open it up, and here's the guide map. A lovely guide map which tells you where everything is and where everything, and blurbs about the various haunted houses with some graphic images and also some stuff about the scare zones and all of that. And you can see this lovely map. So that's the lovely guide map, the event guide, the interior of it. Now, that's out of the way. The houses themselves. So let's go around the park. So, the first house was located in Soundstage 22, which has now become the most used area for any haunted house in Orlando. At that time, in 2014, it was still tied with the Disaster Q area. It was the 21st house ever in Soundstage 22, and the 21st house ever in Disaster was held that year. But Disaster's days were numbered. So now, Soundstage 22 has been used today 23 times. More than any other location. That's as of now. But back in 2014, it was tied with Disaster. And in that soundstage was located the haunted house based on the El Rey television series From Dusk Till Dawn. Now, again, I must emphasize, there was a motion picture From Dusk Till Dawn released in the 1990s, which starred George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino as the Gecko brothers. And Quentin Tarantino's character was a bit loony, and they encountered a preacher and his family, and went to the Titty Twister, way out across the border in Mexico, where they found a whole bunch of freaking vampires. And it's a really awesome movie. Tom Savini is in it also. It's fun. I encourage it. And also, a house had been based on it once before, but not officially. Yes, this is what I call a secondary IP. When they take an actual film or a show and make a house directly, I call that a primary IP. This is my own definition. A secondary IP is when something is inspired by that thing, but it isn't officially adapted. And that's what they did back in 2005. They had a house called the Demon Cantina over in Islands of Adventure, the last house ever in the Carnage Warehouse, remember? And it was clearly inspired by the original From Dusk to Dawn film, and had a cantina very similar to, but not identical to, the Titty Twister, with demons rather than vampires, but it still was obviously based on that film, even if not officially. That's what they did back in 2005. A tertiary IP, as I call it, is when there's a reference to an intellectual property in a house that has nothing to do with it. It's just a little Easter egg or a reference that's there such things are like, for example, Trick or Treat was used, or Amityville was used as that sort of Easter egg in Krampus last year. But that's just my own definitions of what I call primary, secondary, tertiary IPs, and that's just something I came up with myself to help my own concept of organizing these things in my strange and muddled brain. But From Dusk to Dawn was the primary IP in 2014. It was adapted directly from the television series. The television series updated and changed the whole storyline. You still have the Gecko brothers, but they're not quite as insane. Seth ultimately turns into a vampire himself, like in the film, but he's still sort of a good guy and is still teamed with his brother to fight the other vampires. And there's other interesting characters besides the Gecko brothers. Interesting sheriff who is tracking them, and it's a very intriguing series, but I've never actually seen more than the first season. I saw the first season on demand or some Netflix or something, because I don't know what it was. I saw some sort of streaming service in order to watch them, because we didn't have El Rey. I didn't know we had El Rey yet. Later on I found El Rey available on Spectrum, and I could see it better then. But I watched it only so I would know what was going on in the damn haunted house, to be honest. And I've never gone back and watched the rest of the series, although one of these days I might catch up with it. Of course, only the first season was used for the haunted house, which starts off with the Titty Twister, the notorious cantina where the hideous snake-like vampires in the TV series, the vampires don't turn into bats like they did in the movie. They're sort of reptilian snake vampires. They get fangs like snake fangs when they bite you, and some of them seem to be able to turn into serpentine forms. So you start out with the Titty Twister, except it's not called the Titty Twister. Oh, disappointment. They couldn't call it that because they couldn't have the word titty emblazoned in a big neon sign at Horror Nights for some reason. Even though Horror Nights is supposed to be kind of R-rated, I guess they decided, PG-13 or whatever, and they couldn't use the word titty, so they took the word titty out. It just says Twister, which is a ride, or was a ride, located just a little ways, not very far away from Soundstage 22, ironically, but and was still open back in 2014. So I found that to be a bit strange. You half expect to see William Paxton inside the house instead of Satanico Pandemonium, or whatever her name was. Anyway, it starts out though with the bar facade, and the guy who's out in the bar. In the movie it was, of course, Cheech Marin, but here it's a different guy, and he's telling you about go in, and but he can't talk about all the pussy the way they did in the original movie, unfortunately, because that would get Donald Trump too excited. Anyhow, you go in and he's there, he's cheering you on, and there's bottles of beer lying all over the place, and you go in and you go through this cantina, which is actually pretty much a whorehouse as well as a bar. And so you go through many scenes of sexy vampire seductresses tasting the various men who come in. Quite a lot. They do some shadow play. There's like a kind of a curtain. You see a sexy girl dancing behind it, and then suddenly she opens up and she's got a snaky, fangy face, and you see one biting into someone's neck and blood spurting out through the shadow play. That's lots of fun. You also see the victims and blood and gore, and then of course there's the bath, like Countess Bathory, Erzsébet Bathory of true real-life Transylvanian history. Satanico Pandemonium likes to bathe in blood, and so there's a bathtub all filled with blood, and it's a mannequin of her, a static figure, not a scare actress, because they couldn't quite get away with having a scare actress totally nude, standing in it with blood all over her, but if you peer around a bit, you can see her breasts and everything. So, yeah, they had nudity in the house, although it's a static figure nudity and not an actual scare actress nudity, which would be, I guess, illegal and questionable. But still, they were able to show her and her actual titties, but you couldn't call it the Titty Twister. Huh? Oh, well. And you go through many more scenes where There are hideous vampires as you go deeper into the depths in the sort of Aztec ruins that is incorporated into the cantina, and various snake-like vampire creatures come jumping out at you, some of them dressed in Aztec-like costumes, little loincloths, both male and female. And then you see some other really neat stuff from the series. Now, Tom Savini's character, Sex Machine, is in the series, although he's played by a different actor. I forget who it was. It was somebody like... it was like that, I think it was that actor who's always like a bit of a burnout. Not Nick Nolte. What's the other one? Gary Busey, maybe? I think it might have been. And he's got, of course, the famous Sex Machine pistol. And that's a hidden weapon that he has in his belt, right at his crotch. And the little pistol there, has 2 cylinders on the side and a barrel that sticks out, and the barrel shoots up like this, and 2 cylinders on the side. Get it? It looks like, like 2 testicles and a penis, and it shoots up like he's got a boner when it's ready to shoot and fire the weapon, the sort of hip-powered Sex Machine pistol. And a sex pistol? Anyway, he's got this, and he's dead, though. He's lying on an altar, and the seductive vampire girls are all around, and he's like bleeding and quite dead. But his little Sex Machine pistol is pointing to the heavens, at like his little firearm erection is still there, even though he's dead. And that's always a lot of fun as well. And there's scenes with lots of snakes. There's one chamber, it's all snakes hanging down. You got to go through the snakes and stuff, that sort of stuff. But then eventually you get to the big scene at the end of the house, which is really the highlight of the whole house. And that's the actual cantina bar with the stage. There's the bar with all kinds of drinks and dead people on the pool tables and blood everywhere. And around the corner is the stage where Satanica Pandemonium will come out and perform with her girls doing the sexy snake vampire dance. And up above on the balcony, the mariachi band is playing. Although, again, you have a lot of static figures, but some of them are scare actors, some of them are static players. But the Gecko Brothers show up, and they're shooting their guns at the bad guys to help you escape, saying, "Get the hell out of here! What are you doing here? Get out! Go that way! Get out of here! Bang! I'll save you! Seth! Shoot that one!" The 2 Gecko Brothers are there, and they're shooting. And what's fun is, whoever the scare actors were, they knew me when they saw me. "Dr. Jimmy, what the hell are you doing in here? Go, get out, quickly!" So that was a lot of fun. Then you go out of there, you see another snake or 2, and then you're out of the house. So it was fun. It wasn't the best haunted house. It wasn't as good as the original Demon Cantina, but I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it a lot more because I watched the series. I managed to stream the whole series and binge watch it so that I could enjoy the house more. And I think anyone who hadn't might have been confused because it didn't quite fit the movie, which they would only thing they could remember if they saw the movie and didn't watch the El Rey series. I do recommend the El Rey series. I enjoyed the first season, even though I haven't seen the remaining seasons. I think it must be on season 4 by now. Usually whenever I tune into El Rey, all I ever see are old kung fu movies. 13th Chamber of Shaolin, and some of those are really hysterical and a bit campy. Your power, you cannot resist the power of my kung fu. That's great old Hong Kong movies and stuff from the 70s and way back. And that's what always seems to be on whenever I put on El Rey nowadays. But I know somewhere in there you can find From Dusk Till Dawn. There's also one about a soccer player who's a spy. It's called Matador. He's like an undercover cop, the DEA guy who poses as a soccer player. And that's kind of fun too. So I like El Rey. It's kind of a cool network. Okay, second house. So going along the sound stages, the next one was the first house in Soundstage 24. once again they had 2 houses in Soundstage 24 that year. The first one was another intellectual property, Alien vs. Predator. Now, I have heard rumors that they've wanted to do an Alien house for quite some time. I don't know if this is true, but the rumor has been that Disney has some sort of exclusive right for using the motion picture Alien in a theme park, at least in Florida, because of the alien scenes in the Great Movie Ride. And so whatever they bought the rights to use it for that ride somehow prevents them from doing a house based on Alien at Horror Nights. I hope that's not true. I'd like to see a straight Alien house, or one based on some of the other films in the Alien franchise. And there are new Alien films coming up, so that would be nice too. I don't know if they'll ever get that, but they were able to do Alien vs. Predator, which is a separate franchise, although it's related to both the Alien and Predator franchises. This was not actually based specifically on the movie Alien vs. Predator or its sequel Alien vs. Predator Requiem, but dealt with the characters and concepts of both films, as well as the Dark Horse comics and the other things. So you have Weyland-Yutani, for example, referenced the company, and you have aliens and predators running amok in an installation located apparently somewhere in South America. And you go into the house and you see the installation, and you see a big truck, and when you go inside, that's when the fun starts, because the predators and the aliens both are running amok in this installation. And they're after each other, but they're also after you. There's aliens that have erupted, their eggs have come to Earth, the face huggers, all of that is going on, but the predators have come to hunt them because they love dangerous things to hunt. And of course the humans, who are the security personnel with their weapons, also make good prey. So everyone's kind of stuck into this huge fight. So you go through the house, and there are many scenes of aliens and predators, some of which are really cool and nifty. There's a laboratory where there's a predator on the slab who's being dissected with his greenish blood, but an alien face hugger had been on him, and you can see the person lying on the ground with one of them on his face who's a victim. They also have you see the predators attacking, coming through the jungle. They have a screen set up so you can see that sort of weird, watery silhouette of him when he's stealth. But then, of course, you have many scenes where the predator bursts into the room to attack. You also have aliens coming through that are puppets. Remember American Werewolf in London? They had those puppets of the wolves. They did the same technology for the aliens. So several scenes throughout the entire house, you have these apertures, and the alien comes through it from chest up, waist up, with his big claws, and he'll reach out, and his mouth and the long snaky tongue thing that comes out of that will come after you, and it's coming after you and lurching. You walk past some windows, you can see the jungle outside, and the face hugger things come jumping up on the side of the window after you, and the predator comes out the other way, and so you're, oh my god, this, one scare, you move, and then the next one hits you. There's a real neat scene in the middle of the house where you've got someone who's being killed, and it's like this trooper, and he's like half in and out of the floor. And he's being dismembered. And then a robot like the ones, those androids in the Alien franchise, and there's only a head on a desk, and it starts to try to warn you that, you're fucking doomed, basically. And several more scenes with predators and aliens coming at you from different sides. And they did a marvelous job with the puppets, and they got big, tall characters for the predators, and even an egg chamber. So you're in the egg chamber, and you have all the eggs all around you, and some of them are starting to hatch. And there's one of the security girls telling you to get the hell out of there. There's an area where there's walls with the cocoons, the aliens' cocoons, and the human victims are inside, and one chest burster comes out of one of them. Yeah, a little guy popping out of his chest as you go along the walls, and the cocoons are there, and then another alien comes out after you, and then another predator. All very well done. It's quite a lot of fun. It was one of the more fun, entertaining houses, although I didn't find it quite so scary. They had a neat trick at the end. After the last predator and alien are right there going at each other, and you have to walk between them pretty much. Then, instead of going out the normal way, you duck under. You have to duck under a little tiny space, and then you have to go through a little tunnel where you have to bend over to get through this tunnel. And of course there's another alien in the tunnel, and it's sort of sideways in the pipes, and you don't see it till you get there, and it pops out and comes after you as you run out of the house. One time, because I sometimes walk with a bit of a limp in my umbrella as a cane, they took me around the other way, and I missed the fun scare at the end. They assumed that I couldn't duck under. I thought, no, I can do it. But I went through enough times that I saw that scare several times. And one time there was some problem, and they had it taped up, and everyone had to go around the other way. But it's more fun to duck, and you don't have to crawl on all fours, but you know, you have to go down all stooped over, and then the alien, sort of like the way they did the Mummy in 2012, and in the chamber of the House of Horrors. But this was more fun because the alien puppet came right out of the side of the wall at you. So that was Alien versus Predator. Alright, and I've run out of time, so I'll continue next time with the next house, which is Dracula Untold Reign of Blood. I'm sorry.